when so I grew up in Israel, and this was early '60s, and I hear of a fighting style of fighting art that is called karate, Japanese fighting art, that you can hit somebody with one strike and really create, I mean, a lot of damage, and that you can jump in the air and kick. And kicking then was something we didn't know what's kicking. It was considered even unfair to kick in a street fight. Uh, I never saw it until I saw a James Bond movie, You Only Live Twice, around 1967, and it was shot in Japan, and they brought real valid martial artists, really top notch, into that movie, and there's some karate scenes there, and I remember watching it, and I was so drawn to it. It's the very first movie in my life that I went and I saw it again and again and again, like three times in a matinee. I was then around 9 years old, and I didn't even tell my parents that I went to see the same movie again and again, like three times in a row. I went to a matinee. The only reason why I went was really for the karate scene. So I really wanted to learn it. It was a dream for me. And I achieved the dream a few years later when they opened a karate dojo, or actually a dojo that had judo and karate next to where we lived. And then I was asking my parents to give me the permission to go and train in karate. And my parents totally rejected it. The reason was they were Holocaust survivor, and for them karate meant like boxing, hitting, getting hit. They didn't want me basically to get hit and to get into. For them, it was a violent activity. They totally rejected it. They rejected it so much that for me it was now a goal to achieve, to hear the yes from them. And I argued and argued. And then my father said, fine, you're a good student in school, continue to be a good student, but I want you to keep on playing the guitar. I was playing the guitar. Never quit playing the guitar. And I said, I'll never quit. So I still play the guitar. I even play the banjo. And he gave me the permission to go and train. And because it was so hard for me to get that permission, I promised myself that no matter what, I will never quit. Doesn't matter if I'm tired, if I'm bored, if it's cold outside, if it's hot outside, if people are going to the sea or to the movies, I will go and train. And the secret is just really to go and train and to be there every day. And at a certain point, it clicks, and suddenly you understand it from inside, and you become good in it. That's the only secret, just to go and do it and not to quit. And there is a saying like a black belt is a white belt that never quit. That's basically what it is. So I started almost 53 years ago, and I still do it, and I still have the passion for it.
Wow. I can't imagine how good you must be now after 53 years of training. And I love what you said, though. I love how you told yourself that you're just going to do it. If someone is doing something else, if your friends are out here, you're still going to go to the gym, because there's so many distractions nowadays. And I think it's easier than ever to slack off with training, because I mean, you have the phone, you have the
Today,
cinema,
yes,
you have, I don't know,
yes.
something outside. But because I also do martial arts, and I remember my first time ever sparring. I was crapping myself because
What do you
you've
do
done it for
actually?
so long. I'm sure. I do
What
taekwondo.
what do you train? Taekwondo. It's okay.
Taekwondo,
Good.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I remember the first time training, I was scared. I was nervous. Not training, sparring. Sorry, because
yeah.
it's the first time you're actually hitting an opponent. How did you feel the first time you sparred and the first time you competed?
So first of all, I started my first style that I trained was a hard style, Kyokushinkai. It was and 70s karate was all about fighting. We sparred all the time. So and didn't have any shields, no mouthpiece. The only thing we had was a growing piece. You learn basically to protect yourself. And look, sparring is not fighting. You're not there to knock somebody's teeth or whatever. You're just there to learn and to train for fighting. Uh, in my first competition, and I don't see karate as a sport, but the first competition, I was very nervous. I was so nervous that I hit my opponent and got a warning, and again hit my opponent again, and basically by the third time I was disqualified. You know, I didn't acted well under pressure, and there's something in all martial arts that beyond the fighting that their attributes and the contribution to life is way and beyond fighting. For instance, you take the belt system, right? It's in karate, taekwondo, judo, jiu-jitsu, etc. It's a system that's really started in Japan. And if when you start, if you come your first day to the dojo and you see people that are very high level, like high degree black belts, you look at them and say, I'll never be able to do it. But let's say you start with a white belt, you see a yellow belt, and you say, okay, if I'll train regularly, I can jump from here to here. You know, I can see myself doing it. And then from yellow belt to the next level, you know. So it teaches you, training in martial arts regularly, any martial arts, it teaches you what is called goal settings. And these goal settings you take to any phase that you're doing in your life, whether it's your studies or it's your work. It's how to think sometimes systematically and break things in a very orderly manner, an organized manner, and do them. So this is beyond the fighting. Fighting is fighting, but it's not always about fighting. It's what you get when you train regularly in martial arts. So
Mm.
and there's a difference. Going back to fighting, there's a difference between sparring in the dojo that nobody says Ajime and Mate, I mean, begin, stop, etc. You just spar, you know, and you try new techniques. And the idea is to try new things. You leave the ego outside. And sometimes, like I tell my students, do stupid things, try new things, because if that's the place to try it. If you won't try it now, you will never use them, you know. That's a place, it's like a lab to go and to do experiment. When you compete, that's everybody's looking at you. You're under pressure, and then you really do what really your favorite techniques. By the way, I'm saying it's not a sport, but for youngsters, I think that competition is a good thing because it teaches young people to perform under pressure. People are looking at you within set rules, so you're not some kind of in a sterilic environment. When you come really to life, you know how to act well under pressure.
Amazingly said. Amazingly said. I agree so much with it because, you know, fighting is just one of those things where if you're panicking, if you're too emotional, you're going to get punished. If you hesitate and you overthink, oh, should I do this? Should I do this? You're going to get punished. If you try to push the pace and rush it and force things, you're going to get punished. And I love what you said, how it's so much more than just fighting, and how younger people, especially people who are growing up and everything, they should do it not just to be able to defend yourself, but because of all the mental gain that you gain from it. And I think that it leads perfectly to this next question because, I mean, you've directed so many movies, so many TV series, and I've seen my dad direct movies itself, and man, it looks stressful because you have to control so many things. You do this, no, you do this, no, this one goes like this. How do you deal with the pressure of being a director?
just before being a director, something about what you said, and it's all about this. Going back to fighting, like you said, if you are too hesitant, too scared, too nervous, too basically you let your mind control you. So you have to control your mind and not let basically, or control your emotion and not let your emotion control you. And if you look at the word karate, that until 1936 was written as the Chinese hand. And in 1936, because they tried to canonize it in Japan as a Japanese martial arts, it was changed to empty hand. The expression empty comes from the Zen expression Mushin no Shin, which means mind of no mind. And it's what you see, that round enzo, that round circle, which is the symbol that of Zen Buddhism. And basically, you have to come and react to what's in front of you, and not to come and with some presets. You have to react to what you have. Basically, that's the idea of not be afraid, not be nervous. Of course, you have to come with a plan, but you also have to be reactive to what's in front of you. Now, to go back to the film, the question, for me, when I do a movie, the movie for me is done in pre-production, because in pre-production the hardest things for me are two things: is finding location and casting. Casting, it's obvious because the actors that you will have, the faces, the characters, will determine the way, I mean, your heroes, Absolutely. Location is even more important, because the location creates the scene. Because when I'm looking for a certain location, I go there and I say, okay, what is my master? You don't do master, but what is my establishing? What is the shot that will start the scene? And because I pre-plan everything, if I read the scene and I think of the first shot, trying to put it in the location that I found or I'm looking for. If I think correctly and I have nailed the first shot, the rest will flow. If my first shot is not right, I will get stuck. It's like scratching the ear with the other hand, you know?
Mm.
So it's very important. Pre-planning. Pre-planning is everything. So at the day when you come to set, of course there's some changes, but you know that you're going from point A to point B. You're not going like this. You might very slightly, but you're going from point A to point B.